Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, and when I'm not putting my Christmas decorations up in November just to annoy my neighbors, I'm here at the Wolfula reviewing movies. You ever wondered about Leatherface's origin story? Me neither, but we still have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre prequel anyway. No, not that one. This year saw the release of a brand new Texas Chainsaw prequel called Leatherface, not to be easily confused with the third film of the same name, this time taking place before the original 1974 classic instead of the 2003 remake. Lionsgate isn't making things easy and not confusing by having Leatherface's poster show a young Leatherface walking down a road while carrying a chainsaw, just like the beginning. Yeah, in case you didn't know, the current Lionsgate Texas Chainsaw Massacre canon only includes the original, that shitty 3D movie about elderly Leatherface, and this new prequel about young Leatherface. Yeah, Lionsgate is really banking on Leatherface's whole life story being interesting. At least they were, but this flick got shelved for more than a year and premiered not in theaters or direct-to-video, but direct-to-direct TV. Oh boy. I wouldn't be too worried though. Plenty of classic horror films premiered on DirecTV like... Anyway, unlike the first prequel, which focused largely on the origin story of the remake's family, Leatherface appropriately focuses on, well, Leatherface's origin, with his family mostly in the background. Once again, it's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie with very little family in it. If you were hoping to find out more about, say, the enigmatic half-dead grandpa from the original, well, too bad. In fact, this film doesn't explain how the cannibalistic family comes to be at all. At the start of the film, the Sawyer family is shown to already be up to their murderous chainsaw-slinging tricks as they celebrate little Leatherface's birthday. So, this is the story of how Jed Sawyer becomes Leatherface, with the other Sawyers taking a backseat. I know that Leatherface is the icon of the series, but he's not that interesting of a character, especially by himself. I mean, the Saw is family, after all. You can't have a Saw if there ain't no family.
The Saw is family!
Speaking of which, Leatherface is barely in the film himself, at least the way we know and love him. That's always the prequel trap, being subjected to seeing cool characters before they become cool.
Boba, is your father here?
Yep. Also, on a related note, explaining scary things makes them less scary.
I'm not listening!
Explaining jokes, though, always makes them funnier. You see, with that joke, I was being ironic. Leatherface opens with the titular character's early years, of course, as a reluctant killer, but the little guy's at least useful as bait. When a young couple goes riding in a pickup truck to find a place where they can supposedly make out even more than they already are, they get waylaid by what appears to be a dead animal.
Just a kid!
That would not be my first response upon seeing someone wearing a cow's head, but okay. This cowboy calls for help and runs off, so Betty here decides to pursue him alone into a barn. I'm sure it'll work out perfectly fine.
Okay.
Okay, it didn't work out fine. It didn't work out fine at all.
You done good, Jed. Looks like you can learn a little after all.
The girl lured to her death by Jed, Nubbins, and Drayton happens to be the daughter of a Texan ranger by the name of Hal Hartman. Hartman is more than a little pissed off, but Verna, the Sawyer family matriarch, is even more pissed when she arrives.
You see them do something wrong? No, I didn't think so. You accosted him? You let him out of the car?
No. He's staying right there.
The authorities take Jed into custody away from Verna in retaliation, but, you know, they don't take Nubbins too for some reason. They're around the same age.
You take one of mine, and I'll take all yours, Verna.
Here's where the movie gets really gimmicky. We jump ahead 10 years, and through a bit of exposition, it's explained that troubled children with a criminal history, like Jed, are held at a youth reformatory where they get new names.
In the first year, nearly 50 children were taken from homes where criminal activity was the norm. Most of these children were given new names.
So that means this movie is not only about how Leatherface comes to be, but it also spends much of the runtime leaving you wondering who turns out to be Leatherface in the end. No, that doesn't seem like it'd get tedious at all. The new nurse at the reformatory, Lizzie, is introduced to some of her patients, including the silent but deadly Bud, who's totally not a red herring for Leatherface, the friendly Jackson, who takes a liking to the nurse.
You aren't gonna be trouble for me, are you?
No, not me, Lizzie.
Is there a reason you keep saying my name like that?
No, I reckon I might like how it sounds is all.
The very aggressive Ike.
Hey, get off me! Let go!
Fucking Frankenstein!
And the unstable Clarice.
What's the big deal?
It's just a stupid mouse.
After we meet our young cast, Verna returns, now wealthy, and looking to visit her son Jed after all these years, but he's still tied up in legal limbo.
Get me the correct court order. I'll be happy to help you.
Oh, that one took 3 months to get.
You know what I want to know? Where is Verna supposed to be in the original movie? I don't know if Texas Chainsaw 3D really explained it, and I'm not gonna rewatch that movie anytime soon.
Do your thing, cuz.
I don't know, it's a little weird that there's suddenly a matriarch in the Sawyer family besides Grandma here, who is also shown to call all the shots in this movie.
Yeah, of course we'll pay you. You just keep us updated.
While I'm still on the subject of the family, I gotta say, this movie really misses the mark on its portrayals of certain characters, namely Drayton and Nubbins. We barely see the younger incarnations of the cook and the hitchhiker in this flick, but what we do see is a total mischaracterization of them. They're nothing like the characters from the original, but this is supposed to be a prequel? You're telling me the crazed hitchhiker dressed like a newspaper boy is a kid?
You arresting me for finding a body? That ain't no crime I heard of.
Drayton is shown to be a psychopathic criminal, but that's nothing like the shrewd, crazed businessman of the original who only killed for the sake of his bottom line.
I just can't take no pleasure in killing. Just some things you gotta do. Don't mean you have to like it.
It's just not consistent. Out of frustration, Verna infiltrates the reformatory and tries to find Jed, even though she has no idea what he looks like now.
Jed, I'm coming!
Verna inadvertently causes a riot inside the reformatory and is in turn shooed away by the staff, casually driving off with her lawyer while the staff deals with the fucking riot she started. It's really weird. The resulting riot results in a lot of deaths and also a love connection between Ike and Clarice. Okay. You know, getting to freedom is important and all, but first you gotta get your dick sucked, I guess. At least this is consensual. Rob Zombie. In the chaos of the breakout, Ike and Clarice take Jackson and Lizzie the nurse as hostages. Oh, and Bud tags along, I guess. Oh, Bud. From here, Ike and Clarice intend to take their captives across Texas to the freedom of Mexico, but Jackson and Nurse Lizzie aren't totally having it. Ike and Clarice will not tolerate escape, though.
Anyone votes, and everyone dies.
Oh, good luck killing everyone simultaneously with one knife, dude. The gang totally lays low on their trip by killing a bunch of innocent people indiscriminately along the way, leaving a trail of bodies for old Ranger Hartman to follow.
See which way they went? What car they took?
Maybe they left in a wagon.
Leatherface is the most different Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, in a series that so far hasn't sent Leatherface to space or anything too drastic or fucking weird. Leatherface the film is a road movie mainly, a violent road movie at that. If it wasn't for the intro, you could go through this whole movie and not know it was a Texas Chainsaw flick until the very end. Despite the movie being called Leatherface, he doesn't don the mask until the very last minute. There's a bit of chainsaw action at the end, there is a massacre, but this movie wasn't shot in Texas. It was shot in Bulgaria. Fucking Bulgaria. Joe Bob Briggs would be disappointed.
Obviously, these people have never been to Texas.
All in all, Leatherface feels much more like a watered-down version of The Devil's Rejects than an actual authentic Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. For most of the movie, we're left with the question of who the hell is Leatherface out of all these characters? Could it be Clarice? I mean, Leatherface is shown to like makeup and stuff, right? Totally plausible. And again, we get very little of Leatherface's family as well. So this is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film with very little of the stuff that makes it recognizable as one. Which is a ballsy move, I must admit, but it's not a very entertaining film. I spent the bulk of the runtime waiting for Leatherface to show up already and left disappointed. Instead, I had to spend time with a bunch of characters I didn't care about, including a dime store Sherry Moon zombie. And being a dime store Sherry Moon zombie is really saying something. Trashy woman.
Maybe you should kiss my Texan ass.
The whole movie is about Leatherface's journey, but if I'm not interested in the guy who becomes Leatherface, why should I watch this? I can understand why Lionsgate shelved this movie for so long and only gave it a limited theatrical release. Folks would be leaving the theater angry that the Leatherface movie they just watched does not have much Leatherface in it. It's really hard to market that. Getting into the nitty-gritty, the film has some decent kills going for it, but the gnarliest thing in this particular Texas Chainsaw Massacre film that I can recall is when the gang pulls a tauntaun inside a dead bull, hiding from the cops. I thought they smelled bad on the outside. Oh, also, Ike and Clarice have a threesome with a corpse. Not a lot of point to it, but whatever. I guess it's gross. Ultimately, Leatherface just lacks the true grit, documentary style of the original film it's trying to lead into. The few glimpses we get into the Sawyer household of the original pales in comparison art-wise, leaving me underwhelmed. They just don't make them like they used to. Probably because having real bones and animal corpses inside a Texas house smells like shit, but still, it's worth it when it's up on the screen. Spoiler time! Now, this is a relatively new film, so I'm not gonna give away everything that happens at the end, but I do want to talk about who becomes Leatherface and how. If you have a problem with that, skip to this time code, watch the fucking movie already, and come back. Please? In the end, it's revealed that there was a little Leatherface in all of us. Now I'm just fucking with you. Jedediah Sawyer, aka Leatherface, turns out to be Jackson all along. Bud honestly made more sense, but he got shot in the head, so whatever. Now, how does Jackson go from being the articulate, nice guy of reasonable intelligence and temperament to the scared, blubbering, masked lunatic wielding a chainsaw that we meet in August of 1973?
Shit, sorry, I'm Jackson.
Well, Jackson gets shot in the side of the face by Hartman during an attempted escape by car with Lizzie. Jackson eventually is reunited with his mother Verna, who fashions a rudimentary muzzle to keep his face together while the stitches heal up, and that's pretty much all the movie gives us to explain how Leatherface comes to be. Now, it could be claimed that the trauma involved in Jed's experience out on the road with Lizzie is what played a major role in Leatherface's creation, but to me, that's a total cop-out. I don't think that the experience Jackson goes through would really cause him to go from being a relatively normal dude with some issues to becoming a wailing, cowardly, mentally deficient brute. And the thing is, this movie doesn't even show that side of Leatherface at all anyway, so there's very little sense of connection in this prequel to the original. It's like there's more left unsaid in how Leatherface comes to be, but the movie runs out of time to tell it all. This flick doesn't even explain why Leatherface wears masks made out of human flesh, his signature thing, the thing this movie is named after. Jackson just starts making Lizzie's face into a mask, and we just catch him in the middle of it during the last minute. Pretty lame. Purely as a prequel, I don't really know what the point of Leatherface was. It barely explains Leatherface's origins, opting to instead give us as little Leatherface as possible. Leatherface is not a terrible film, but it's not a very eventful film either, and if you're a fan of the series, you'll just come out of this flick disappointed. I mean, admittedly, this film does try something different, and there are technically worse Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, but at least those ones aren't boring. I give Leatherface a new beginning out of Leatherface. You bitch hog! I would like to thank the following folks for donating to my Patreon. The channel would be nowhere without loyal viewers like you, and your continued support is greatly appreciated. If any of you would also like to donate to the channel, follow the link to my Patreon at the end of the vid, or the description. Thanks again from your old pal, Dr. Wolfula.
Do that again, I'll turn you into strawberry pie.